Hello my friends and welcome back to another Brotato Nightmare Mode run. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're playing the Masochist because I'm continuing to go through and play all the characters I haven't done on either map yet since the end of the Nightmare Mode beta. And the Masochist is, I think, a really interesting character on Nightmare Mode. This character is generally quite powerful, but much more difficult on Nightmare because having to take damage when the damage instances are so high is really dangerous. There's two ways to play the Masochist, I think. You can either go for a tanking weapon like Spiky Shield or Rock and focus on taking damage to build up your percent damage the way the character kind of wants you to. Or similarly to the Vampire, you can also build a ranged weapon like Icicle or Shotgun and just buy percent damage and just use the fact that you get a bunch of free defensive stats as an economy boost that lets you focus on buying percent damage instead and then just play as kind of a normal ranged weapon build. We're going to go for the melee build here, but I want to mention both possibilities because they're both pretty strong and a fairly easy way to play the character. Now, obviously, we want to take hits in order to allow our weapon to actually kill stuff in the first wave here. So we're just running at the enemies directly, tanking damage, and then we can kill enemies. One downside of Spiky Shield, which is pretty strong for this character since it scales off of armor, which we want to buy an effectively infinite amount of, is that it does have 20 knockback, which can make it harder to take damage on purpose on some waves. And also can make it harder to kill specific enemies in the later game. So I will actually be looking pretty aggressively for things that reduce my knockback because it's kind of a disadvantage on this character. I'll ban landmines and then we'll roll. We'll buy a Spiky Shield. Cute Monkey is one of the best healing items in the game, so we're certainly locking that for a character that has to tank. And then we will re-roll here. We can ban the pencil, buy another shield. We want as much lifesteal and regeneration as we can possibly get, so of course we're leaving Bat in the pool. I'll also lock Helmet. We're using Spiky Shield, so armor is the most important stat. It already is for the Masochist, which is one reason this weapon is so good for you, is that you already are going to be buying tons of armor, so you might as well get even more value out of it. But that means, of course, that we need to prioritize armor even more heavily than we normally would. So while for some other characters I wouldn't lock the helmet there, for the Masochist it's super important. Here I am going to just take 5% attack speed. I could roll for armor or harvesting or regeneration, but attack speed also very important to Spiky Shield, which has very slow base attack speed. And then we'll pick up another shield and roll. Haven't found a 6th, but 5 isn't bad given that this has 2 weapon tags. Again, walking into the enemies here on purpose, but you can see where the knockback is kind of an issue. So I'm going to use the fact that we're playing on full projectile mode as, in the early game anyways, kind of an advantage for this character, because it lets me tank more hits on purpose. In the late game, it's still going to be harder playing on full projectile mode, but Nightmare Mode does have an actual upside for characters like the Masochist. Here, I'm going to re-roll and I'll pick up an armor. I could take harvesting as well, but armor is so important. And then we're going to roll one more time. Disastrous re-roll here, but I guess I'll take a lifesteal because I'm going to want that. We're lucky to find a Spiky Shield, so even though we didn't make that much money last wave and had to spend a little bit rolling on stats, we still at least got to our 6 weapons. I'll buy the helmet, just increasing our damage. I'll lock Mushroom, and then I'm going to throw in a re-roll here because I really want more Spiky Shields. This weapon levels really well, so very important to get it leveled up. Scared Sausage, I'm just going to ban it. I could lock it and try to buy these 3 and ban it to get a free reroll. But I feel like there's a pretty good chance that we end up with another bannable item or something that we want there. So maybe it was right just to guarantee the free reroll. We should make enough money that we can always buy the other 3 items in the shop this wave. Unless something goes very wrong. Crash Zone, I think, is quite a lot harder for the Masochist than the Abyss, and the reason is these spitters, or more specifically the enhanced spitters, which run away from you, and so having high knockback and really high damage enemies that run away from you can be pretty dangerous for a short-range melee build that has to take damage like this one. I'm going to roll here. I'm looking for armor. I will roll again, and I think I'll just take 8 harvesting. I do want to get some harvesting going, so I'll pick that up. I would have preferred armor, because we want as much as we can get. 17 is, let's say, if we can triple that in a few waves, we'll be happy. I'll roll here. I will buy a coupon. I could also lock the coupon and then re-roll to look for a shield while we still have guaranteed weapons. But 5 is starting to get fairly expensive, so I think we'll just buy the coupon and go to the next wave. Taking that hit, and you can see the environmental projectiles hit for 4, which is still a pretty substantial amount. Our healing is not up to the task if we're taking too many hits in a row. So we will very much want to build a lot of percent damage very soon, because otherwise this character just needs to take too many hits in order to deal damage if you don't build natural percent damage, and then you can start falling behind and losing too much health. So percent damage is going to be very important to pick up. That just means fewer hits to get you to your full damage amounts. I'll reroll this, and still not great, but I'll take 5% attack speed, and then I'm going to take 10 luck. When we're right on top of enemies, luck, of course, is going to be very helpful for keeping us healed. Jelly Shield is pretty interesting, actually. It does make it harder. It's a super powerful item on Nightmare. I rarely pass this item. It does make it harder for us to take damage on purpose. And it's fairly expensive for this point in the game where I want to roll for weapon levels. So this is actually a pretty interesting decision. I think we're going to pass on it, but I will leave it in the pool because we might want it later. Same with Feather. We're very likely to build Dodge. Because you get really good defensive stats, it multiplies the value of your dodge. Each point of dodge is worth more for this character with your good healing, good armor, good HP. So even though we want to take hits on purpose, buying dodge is fine. So we'll leave both of those in the pool. I can't really afford to buy Weird Ghost on this character, so I'll ban it. I'll ban Hedgehog. I'll buy Lumberjack Shirt, and then I will roll, and then we'll buy Spiky Shield. I think I will take the Peaceful Bee, because we will, again, want to build dodge later, and this gives harvesting, so we'll take that. We'll ban Small Fish as a relatively weak item, and then we will re-roll, buy a Fertilizer, lock a Helmet, and ban Baby Elephant, do one more re-roll. We'll take a Black Belt as well. Losing luck is pretty painful, but it does give us XP gain, and XP gives you defensive stats, which is what this character needs. Alright, trying to tank hits from the weakest enemies on the map here. The eggs and the summoners are very dangerous for this character, since your damage is very backloaded. You can't deal damage at the start of waves, and so clearing eggs is very difficult. Killing the summons as they spawn can be difficult if you haven't built up enough damage. And with a slow-moving, short-range character, the goobers in general are very dangerous. So that's the challenge playing on Crash Zone, and why another reason why this map is much harder than the Abyss for this character. We'll just recycle the rat. We're not that interested in that. I'll take 3 regen. Of course, we want as much of that as we can get. We'll buy these items and re-roll. Buy a Spiky Shield, buy a Gentle Alien. Gentle Alien is excellent for us, because the more enemies there are, the easier it is to take hits. And then I'm going to roll past Effective Steroids. I do want HP, but it's expensive and costs us an important stat. Cyclops Worm is great. Again, more percent damage is fewer hits we have to take. And we'll buy Spicy Sauce as well, because I do want extra HP. So with 2 solid items locked, I'm not going to spend 10 on a reroll. I'm running at the egg here just to try to use it as a damage source, basically. I can stand on top of it, and the eggs themselves do damage, but they don't hit very hard. So they're a good option for taking hits deliberately. On the other hand, the Horned Spitters do tons of damage. They hit really hard, so they are a bad option for taking hits deliberately, even though it's easy to get hit by them. Trying to bully this loot alien onto the side of the map so that we can kill it despite the knockback of our weapons. And not a bad result for Wave 7 here. We're very happy to get another cute monkey. And then, really interesting decision point here, actually. I could take 6 HP because I need more, though I do have some locked. I could take 10 luck because I currently have 0, or I could take 10 attack speed because attack speed is great. Or I could take 1 armor, because even though this is a level 1 upgrade, armor is just that good. I think I'm going to take the attack speed here, and then I could take the 9 movement speed, because I really need to fix that. It not only makes it easier to avoid taking damage, it makes it easier to take damage on purpose. I could also just roll for armor, but I think, unfortunately, for our level 10 upgrade, I'm just going to have to take the 9 speed. I don't want to be at negative 14 for too much longer. Buy these items, use this band for a reroll, and then Clockwork Wasp, I guess I'll take. Again, this is an expensive way to buy move speed, but the blunt weapon tag reducing your move speed is its main downside, so fixing that, and really the only drawback of Spiky Shield, which is an amazing weapon. So fixing that means that we just have an incredible weapon with no drawbacks. I'll take improved tools. Attack speed is good, even at a premium, and then I will reroll looking for more shields. Definitely want to start leveling these. That's very important. Wave 8, a little rough for the Masochist, because these enemies have a lot of health and hit quite hard, and there aren't that many of them, so again, it can be somewhat difficult to deliberately take small amounts of damage to build up your percent damage. That's why finding the Cyclops Worm and the Gentle Alien is so good. It's just 3 fewer hits that we need to get to a reasonable amount of damage. And then once we've done that, we can actually start avoiding taking hits near the end of the wave. But since we have good healing, we can also take hits when it's easier to do that. I would love some consumable healing. That would be really powerful. I'm not going to be able to get that tree without giving up a lot of enemy kills. We'll take some armor here. Level our shield, buy improved tools. I'm going to take the missile as well. Attack speed, of course, very important, but percent damage, also very important for this character. So we're going to buy the missile. We'll do a reroll. And then, yeah, I'm pretty happy to buy Adrenaline, Peaceful Bee, and Ritual. So I'll talk about dodge a little bit more once I buy these items and we can kind of see it in practice. But basically, don't be afraid of buying dodge on this character. It looks like you shouldn't, but it's actually totally fine. I should not have killed all 3 of those spawners at once. That was really bad, actually, just letting all of those goobers get out. Of course, we got 3 spawning because I have the Gentle Alien, so we have the chance of getting 3 of those at the start of this wave. And since they all spawned together, I should have just avoided them until I had built up a little more percent damage and could have killed the summons as they spawned. Fortunately, we're tanky enough that it wasn't a big deal, but that was a misplay. And at this point, our damage is high enough that we can just clear everything. Wave 9, of course, should be really good for this character. There's a lot of small enemies you can take hits off of. And a Recycle Incendiary Turret will take 2 more armor. And then here, I could keep building dodge. I could also just take 10 attack speed. I think I'm going to take the attack speed. I will, again, want dodge eventually, but for now, it's more important to be able to kill stuff. And then we'll take some armor. We'll buy these items and buy the ritual. And then Jerky is excellent. We've talked about needing consumable healing. Bait is a little dangerous for this character because we're going to take hits at the start of the wave while we don't do enough damage to kill the lampreys, and they hit really hard. So the proportion of damage that we gain to damage that they do is 4, but 8% damage is still great, so we're still going to buy that. We will take the Spiky Shield. I don't mind the Saltwater. It helps fix my move speed, and it pulls a unique out of the pool. I'll take Blood Leech as well, and then I'm going to roll, lock a shield, and a propeller hat. So very solid chop for us. All right, so I just bought dodge, so let's talk about dodge. You can see here, when I want to take damage on purpose, dodge doesn't matter. we were able to just run at all those lampreys, and I got a couple dodges in there. But all that did was mean that I got further into the middle of the enemies, and then took damage right after that. When you take a hit, there's a brief period of invulnerability frames where you can't take damage. And when you dodge an attack, there's likewise, but it's much shorter. So if you run into the enemies and on purpose and get a dodge, you'll still take hits. You'll just take the next hit instead of that one. And it doesn't actually cost you damage on a character like the Masochist. But when you don't want to take damage, it's really good to have lots of dodge because it's good for preventing damage. So it just makes you more survivable overall, and it doesn't actually cost you damage increase on characters like Lich or Masochist. I'm going to roll here. I'm looking for armor, and we'll keep rolling. Roll one more time here. Okay, nice. 3 armor. And then I think that the thing that helps the most here, I want the max HP, but I think luck actually helps the most because increasing our chance of dropping consumables matters a lot when we have Jerky. That's one of the easiest ways to keep ourselves healed. We'll buy Spiky Shield, Propeller Hat, Blood Leech, and Saltwater. Even though this is an Elite Wave, I'm pretty happy to buy the bait. A Lock Penguin, that's good as well. And then Dock Moth and Coral. So Dock Moth is good for this character. We have a lot of regen, so we can use the Dock Moth to quickly heal up. Coral is also very good. I personally dislike using the Coral just because of the requirement to tap move all the time, which I find to be sort of busy work and not that fun and, you know, bad for my carpal tunnel and all that. So I tend not to buy Coral, but you can definitely buy Coral in that spot if you don't mind tap moving. Very good healing for the character. Taking some hits on purpose. Ideally, we take damage from things that aren't the elite, because the elite's going to hit harder. Making sure to chase down these enhanced spitters as well, because if we don't clear those, then they hit way too hard. And then we're just going to kind of camp in the corner, take hits on purpose from some of the weaker enemies while we're fighting the elite. And then we can bring down the elite here as our percent damage builds up. Then I can make my way over here. We have a bunch of built up damage, so we can clear the loot alien, get a bunch of tree kills. And there we go. I'm avoiding getting Curse. Curse is really dangerous for the Masochist because you have to take hits, and your ability to clear these dangerous enemies at the start of waves is compromised. So typically, even on the Abyss, I think you should usually avoid Curse for the character. Another very minor, but in this case, very real advantage of buying Dodge is it opens up the possibility to buy Retromission's Hoodie if you see it. I'm just going to take 8% damage here, and then I don't want Crystal. Of course, items like Crystal and Triangle of Power are bad for this character. Take the Spiky Shield. We have +3 consumable healing, so I think it's okay to take Alien Worm here. I do want more health and regen. We'll buy a helmet. I need to fix my move speed again. Capping my max HP at 51 wouldn't be good, and also we can't use any of these stats, so we're not interested in handcuffs. Chameleon could be okay if we had a little more dodge. There are times where you want to buy this, but it's not that interesting for us right now. I'm going to roll past all this stuff. Okay, this is actually what I was really hoping for, is just a bunch of shield levels. And then for 32, that's a really expensive reroll. I also already have an expensive item locked. So the waves that we're worried about for this character are waves 14 and 15. And to some extent, wave 18. 14 and 15 because of the summoners, and 18 because of all the buffers. So just lots of really high damage enemies, and the summoners were pretty bad at handling. Couple crates, definitely nice. We can always just play in the moth aura if we need to. I'm not worried about the moth aura unless I'm starting to feel like we're falling behind in terms of our health, but we currently are not. We'll recycle that, take that, that's great. And then, yep, more armor. Okay, so Bloody Hand is one of the best possible items for the Masochist, of course, because when we take damage over time on this character, we still get the 5% damage. So this is going to tick 60 times or 59 times, which means that it's going to be that times 5, 300-ish damage over the course of the wave. Obviously, it takes a little while to build up, but this is an enormous amount of additional damage. We have the regen to support it. It gives us a bunch of lifesteal, which is also just very good. So Bloody Hand, one of the best possible items you can find. We'll take the shield here. Ugly Tooth, I don't really want. It would be fine against the elites, but our move speed is already bad. So we'll pass on that. We'll take a Peaceful Bee, and we'll take a Cyclops Worm, and then we will... oh, and I should buy this shield. My eye just fully skipped over that because it was a level 1 item. Because I just did a run with the king, so I'm just ignoring level 1 weapons. Again, still skipping Curse. No need to jeopardize the run by making the enemies more dangerous. We're at the point in this run where if we just execute, if we just play the run normally, we just found Bloody Hand, which is incredible for the character. We'll just win every time. So I'm happy to, if we get Curse, no big deal. But the easiest way to win this run is just to play normal. We don't have to take any risks, and we'll be able to win very straightforwardly. We'll take that, and I'll roll here. Sure, more regeneration, definitely good. We will upgrade the shield, worm, and Peaceful Bee. Roll again here. We'll take a Gentle Alien, and we'll take a Duct Tape, of course. I'll buy Pearl as well. It's only 2% damage, but the chance of finding more pearls is fun. And we'll take another one and then buy a Leather Vest. And I do want to increase my luck, so when we do that, the Pearl will get more value. Now, of course, Bloody Hand and Retrimation's hoodie together have made this... Oh, I stood on every X there. I thought I was off of them, but... whoops. Bloody Hand and Retrimation's hoodie together have made this wave kind of free, which it previously would have been a very difficult wave, or at least the wave that we were kind of most concerned about. But with really high attack speed from the hoodie, we're always going to have an attack ready for killing the summons as they spawn. And I'm actually changing my mind. I am going to get Curse as well. With our attack speed, we can kill the summons as they spawn, no problem. And, of course, with the bonus damage, we don't have to take hits from these really hard-hitting enemies. We just gain tons of % damage naturally. I'm gonna roll here, looking for armor, but I'll take dodge as well. At this point, dodge is also really efficient. And we'll buy Leather Vest, we'll buy Pearl. If I buy the Goldfish, I can't reroll, so let's not worry about the Goldfish. We'll take Spiky Shield and Metal Plate. I said I was gonna look for positive, or negative knockback, but we have positive knockback, so I guess I'll just buy the Coil. We'll just lean into it. One thing I do want to find is one good range upgrade to offset the Retrimation's hoodie loss. If we get like a level 3 or 4 range upgrade against nothing much, then we'll probably take it. You can see how much damage per hit we're doing at this point. And also, wave 15 being a horde wave is actually pretty good for us here. Because it just makes it easier to take hits from lower damage enemies. So, even if we weren't really overpowered, and of course this run at this point is really overpowered, so I'm just not worried about it. But even if we weren't doing as well as we are, this would have been a good roll because it would just make it a little easier. Sure, we'll take a red damage upgrade, we'll take some more dodge, we'll buy all of this stuff, do a reroll, we will pick up a shield level, buy another penguin. Alright, now I'll take the goldfish just for fun, and we got absolutely nothing off the goldfish. I could take another dock moth, but we just don't need it, so I'm going to pass on it here. And we'll buy lure and shield and lock the lost duck as well. Then just hunting down the buffing aliens. Wave 16 shouldn't be that big a deal for us because we're a melee build, so we don't care about the flies at all. But the buffing aliens on 16 can still be scary for melee characters, so we're just making sure to clear those. Get our kills on the loot aliens before they get buffed, because of course we have lure. There is a reasonable chance we get a loot alien at 5 seconds. Remaining in the wave, because we saw 2 very early, but I don't see one, so it looks like we didn't get one. We'll recycle this, we'll take the pearl, and hey, we hit the 3% chance, that's nice. We'll take that, we'll take this even though it costs us armor, but dodge is so good at this point. I'll buy a lost duck. We don't need missile, our percent damage is now effectively super high because of Bloody Hand. We'll roll here, roll again. And I'll take a lemonade. I'll roll again. We'll keep taking peaceful bees as they keep showing up. It's really strong for this character, of course, and we don't care about losing melee damage since our weapon scales off of armor. I guess actually losing a lifesteal is a real downside because it costs me 2 damage as well, because we have Bloody Hand, but our damage again is so high, I'm going to pass on things like head injury as well. This weapon has 2x crit chance, so we can buy Insanity, and that's totally fine. I'm also going to take the wings. Not only does this give us positive move speed, it helps fix our range, which is, as I mentioned, something that's a little on the low side. I'll take the helmet here, and I have 6% crit chance, so there's just no chance Hunting Trophy does anything useful. Alright, I do need to be a little bit careful against this elite, so we'll use our Moth Aura. This elite, somewhat dangerous for melee characters, and we, of course, haven't built up a bunch of damage yet at the start of this wave. So I'm going to focus on clearing the buffing aliens while our Bloody Hand ticks, and while I take damage on purpose, and then finish off the elite. With the Masochist, patience is key. Your damage is much lower at the start of waves than it is at the end of waves, so you need to time when you're going to fight elites especially, but generally most enemies. You need to kind of pick the order that you're fighting enemies in fairly well, since it matters more than for other characters, since your damage changes so drastically over the course of the wave. I don't really want to lose armor, so we would lose armor on 18 and 19. It's -2 for 20% attack speed, 20 damage, and 100 range is actually relevant. I think I will take the ashes here. I'll buy the dodge. Now we're over dodge cap. And then I can take wings, coffee, baby squid. It's too late. We'll roll again. I will lose some attack speed to buy the weird food because it's still very good, and we're still at dodge cap. Campfire, I don't think it's worth locking. I would probably buy it, but we just don't need it at the moment. And we'll take the spiky shield here. Ashes, by the way, I think is a very well-designed item. It is a super powerful item, but with a real drawback that means that you don't want to take it early. But some builds can still do that and then use the fact that it gives you a bunch of damage to focus on offsetting the downside and buy armor. And it gives you 100 range, which means it's an actually relevant amount of range. The developers in this game are very scared of giving you enough range to ever matter. So items that give you range in the sort of 80 plus range are always a little more interesting because that's enough where it can actually be relevant. I don't need the whistle. We're late in the run. I'll take the alien worm here. Recycle this. Sure, we'll just take some lifesteal, and then we'll buy spiky shield, broken mouth, and Cyclops worm I'm going to pass on. Our percent damage is now super high, so again, I don't really need it. We'll take the Sift's relic. That's excellent, just more armor, and I'll buy stone skin as well, and just because we have a ton of armor, that's just fun. Just get to go to 100 HP off the one item. Because to expand on that, I think Ashes actually has a lot of fun, both emotional points and fun decision points. Where if you find it in, like, Wave 19, it's always right to take it, but it's really exciting because it's so powerful. If you find it really early, then it's kind of disappointing, and it's okay for items to be kind of disappointing sometimes, because you can't take it without paying a huge price, but the upsides are still sometimes worth it, so you can make an interesting decision there. And then if you find it in the mid-game, you actually have to think very carefully about whether you're taking it or not, because sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not. So all of that together, I think, makes for a very well-designed item. I could take this for 24 attack speed. I think I'm going to roll for armor, though. And I'll roll some more. And we'll take 4 armor just to kill the bosses a little faster. We'll buy spiky shield. We'll buy stone skin. The level 1 shield, unfortunately, doesn't do anything. We will take a gentle alien. That's good for us because more enemies means we can take more damage. We can heal more off of lifesteal and consumable healing. I guess I'll take a cauldron, and then I'll just do a reroll here for fun. We would take lure. We would take coffee. Fried rice, we still don't have a way to set things on fire, so we wouldn't take that. The game's showed me fried rice a lot. And then we'll go to the last wave here. So typically on the Masochist, you want to take hits from things that aren't the bosses, but we're strong enough that it just doesn't matter. So I'm just going to run straight at the bosses. Kill them as quickly as we can. And there we go. That's the Masochist with spiky shield. I think that this is a relatively easy run. If you're looking for if you're looking to get a win in Nightmare and you're struggling, then this is one of the ways that I think is easiest to do it. You do need to be a little careful about how much damage you take, but the fact that you get to scale off of a defensive stat, you know, armor's the best stat in the game, spiky shield scales off of it, so you just get to buy tons and tons of armor, and that's always a good default strategy. And if you take hits, it's not a big deal because it just increases your damage, so your movement doesn't have to be as strong. If you're actually struggling in the early game, you can try turning on full projectile mode in order to have more things to take hits from, and that might actually make it easier. Taking a look at our items here, 400 healing from Cute Monkey, so obviously did amazingly. 500 savings on our 2 coupons. Actually 10k damage from Spicy Sauce, more than you usually get. 68 regen from Adrenaline, but also we got to 60 dodge, which made us much more survivable. Hoodie was great. Bloody Hand, of course, was incredible for this character. We did get a free pearl, though we never found more luck, so the pearls were not that exciting. Coil was very good, though. Plus 8 damage, and it worked out reasonably well. What else? Although I maybe didn't need to buy it, because at the point I bought it, I had the Bloody Hand. It took me a minute to stop prioritizing percent damage, so maybe a misidentification there. And same with this head injury. What else? The Ashes worked out well.
and Sif's Relic and Stone Skin at the end were just fun. Alright, my friends, I hope that you enjoyed that run with the Masochist, and hopefully it gives you an easy way to beat Nightmare Mode. As always, of course, if you have enjoyed the video, then feel free to leave a comment and hit like. Helps me out with the algorithm, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel for more Brotato and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.